Hello, hi, welcome to the Home Rehab Network. I'm Alex Grichuhin, respiratory therapist, and Dr. Shah, Dr. Naveed Shah, our pulmonologist. Today we're going to basically go over some of the topics that we discussed from last week. And by the way, if anybody has any questions, please write in the comments section just beneath this video or on the side of the video, and just ask away when you have a specific question. We'll actually try to answer all the questions we possibly can. Just so everybody understands, it's a little cold out there if you're in the East Coast and probably in the location you're at. So just make sure that when we're going outside, always make sure that we keep some kind of HME, something like a scarf or a mask, to trap some of the moisture just in case it gets a little too frazzled outside, as the cold weather tends to cause sometimes wheezing or a shock to the body. Anyways, without further ado, I think we have some topics with the vaccine that Dr. Shah wants to go over. So why don't you go ahead and take it away.
All right. Thank you, Alex. We're going to be talking about the COVID-19 vaccine, and I'm going to primarily talk about the Pfizer vaccine, which has been approved by the FDA and the CDC and has already been rolled out, and the first patient was a nurse at Long Island Jewish, where one of my daughters was born, by the way, in New York. So it's going to be rolled out on the East Coast via UPS and on the West Coast via FedEx. The vaccine is obviously has to be stored and contained with dry ice. So one of the concerns was as the dry ice basically melts, it doesn't melt, it vaporizes. Will there be any problems for the airline crew because of the CO2 content? But that's been kind of mitigated. We now have kind of a pipeline of going from air to ground to states. So that's all been kind of worked out and will be continued to be worked out as we get more vaccines into the hands of healthcare workers. Now, I'm going to get into who's going to get it first and who should get it in a bit. But basically, the vaccine is based on what's called messenger RNA or mRNA. And we're going to get into that a little bit later as well. There is no virus in the vaccine, so you cannot get coronavirus from this vaccine. There is no chip in that vaccine, so no one's going to track you. So if you're afraid that the government's going to track you, you're wrong. It's not going to track you, okay? So don't be afraid. As far as ingredients, the ingredients are basically a glycoprotein and some fats, which help to take the virus into your system and into the cells. There is some other very basic ingredients, including potassium chloride, monobasic potassium phosphate, sodium chloride, which is salt, basic sodium phosphate dihydrate, and sucrose. So that's being more than specific on exactly the non or more inert parts of the vaccine. The vaccine will be in 2 doses, about 21 days apart. So if you miss the second dose, it's recommended you get it right away as soon as you realize that you've missed it. The other recommendation is if you get the Pfizer vaccine, you should stay with the Pfizer vaccine. If for some reason you get the Pfizer vaccine the first time and the second one you get the Moderna vaccine, it's okay. You don't need to go back and get the Pfizer vaccine, but it's not ideal. So stick with whatever vaccine you started with. and it's recommended again 17 to 21 days after you get the second dose. Now, the trials have already been done, so the vaccine's already been rolled out. The efficacy of this vaccine has been shown to be 95% efficacious in stopping disease. Now, it's not 95% efficacious in stopping the spread, but in stopping the disease. So there's a little bit of difference. And therefore, you still need to wash your hands, wear a mask, until we are told not to. We need to continue with these barrier methods until further notice. Now, I'll just go through some basics and then we can answer questions thereafter. As far as reactions, number one reaction has been fatigue. Now, that fatigue is common even for some people after the flu virus vaccine. And other vaccines. So this is, again, going to cause fatigue. And from my opinion, it would be probably those that have more of a reaction would have more fatigue. But that's yet to be determined. Headaches, muscle pains, joint pains, fever. So flu-like symptoms are going to be there. Injection site pain has been also very commonly experienced. However, the frequency of serious adverse reactions has been less than 0.5%. So it's very rare. Now, the recommendation, if you have severe allergic reactions to medications or vaccines, you should do it in a hospital or doctor office type of a setting, okay? If you have less than very severe and you know who you are, most of you carry an EpiPen or already know, maybe see an immunologist or allergist, then you know that you're one of those people. If you're not one of those people, then you're okay to have this vaccine.
Does it include telehealth?
Telehealth.
Is it doctor office?
Typically doctor's office.
So they have to be in?
For now,
Gotcha.
yeah. As it rolls out, you may be able to get the prescription to go to a CVS or something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. Now, during the studies, when they were doing the studies, 2 people died during that study for this vaccine who were getting the vaccine. However, 4 people died who weren't getting it and were getting the placebo, all right? And it was not really due to the vaccine. The other points that I want to make about this vaccine, again, both of the vaccines are going to be 2 doses. All right. Again, stick with the dose and with the company that you got the vaccine from. If you had a previous infection with the COVID-19, the recommendation is that you still get the injection. Now, having said that, if you currently have an infection with COVID-19, you do not get the injection, okay? And usually you will make antibodies that will typically last about 90 days. So if you wanted to wait about that time or close to that time to get the vaccine and you're able to do that, then it's okay to wait if you just had the virus. If you had, for example, plasma, what we call convalescent plasma from somebody else, or you had some type of an antibody medication for this, for the treatment. Again, we're not sure, but you could possibly wait 90 days because you've gotten somebody's plasma, and you should have some antibodies to this. But that, again, is a kind of a gray area. because typically reinfection, you'll see it after 90 days, and that's what we're basing it on. Also, how does it relate to flu shot? So if you, the recommendation is you need to wait 14 days at least after you get the flu shot to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Or you do the vaccine 14 days prior to getting the flu shot. So it's still recommended to get the flu shot, but you have to have a minimum of about 14 days before or after you get the flu shot. Now, if you're immunocompromised, should you get the vaccine? And the answer is yes. Even if you're immunocompromised at this time, you should get the vaccine. Now, I just want to make a disclaimer, which I didn't do in the beginning. This is for educational purposes only, and you should consult your doctor about specifics and getting the vaccine. So I'm just giving you some information. I'm not here to tell you what to do or what you should do, and you should take it to your doctor for any specifics, okay? So I want to be very, very clear on that. Now, the vaccine, again, is it's a messenger RNA, and basically the company that designed this and made this, BioNTech in Germany, they were already working with messenger RNA vaccines. They were trying to develop for cancer purposes, and that's one of the reasons why it came out so fast, is because they've already worked it out, and China had already worked out the DNA sequence of this vaccine, and so they took the sequence, they were working on mRNA already, and they just put it together. That's why it was so fast. And the regulation was fast-tracked, and that's why we have it in our hands so quickly, because of those reasons. Unfortunately, it has to be under, very cold conditions, but that's neither here or there. That's something for the companies and the government regulations to work out. But again, it's here. What happens is that the vaccine produces antibodies, okay, to what's called spike proteins. And if you've seen the virus, it's got a bunch of spikes on it, and those spikes is what we're going after. Now, let's say you want to travel and you get the vaccine, and you need a negative test. Well, it's okay. If you are traveling and they do the nasal swab, that you're okay. It's not going to be detected. If you are getting a PCR, this has nothing to do with that. So you can still travel and get those tests. But if you're looking for antibodies, you'll have to get a very specific test to tell you whether the antibodies are from the vaccine or from an actual infection. But typically, airlines are only concerned with either your rapid nasal swab or the PCR. So you're safe there. What else? If you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding, you can still safely get this vaccine. However, again, I would remind you, please talk to your doctor before you plan on getting it. So that's in a nutshell basics of the vaccine and who should get it. Now, one other thing is the first batch is going to be for people in nursing homes, the residents and the personnel, and for frontline workers, and that's typically hospital intensive care units, those type of people. So that would be what we call the Group 1A. Now, Group 1B would be then other people involved in those types of settings. Group 1C would be now getting into our general audience, which is typically the 65-year and older with some comorbidities, and COPD is definitely one of those comorbidities. So that's how they're going to roll it out. Each state will get a certain allotment by the end of the week. The Moderna vaccine should also be rolled out, and that's about 94% effective so far that we know. And they will ramp up thereafter. A couple other companies are also trying to make one. Unfortunately, GSK and Sanofi try to make one, but theirs kind of failed in phase 1 trial, so they're going to go back to the drawing board and figure that out. But as we have somewhere over 300 million people. Obviously, not every one of them needs to get it, but the majority will get it. Otherwise, we consider it herd immunity that most people have it. And the vaccine is for patients 16 years and older. And as more and more people get it, my guess is, some of the restrictions by the end of next year should be relaxed. But that's the basics again of this virus vaccine.
Okay, we have a few questions from the audience. I guess the first one is a two-part question from Carol, and it addresses some of the things you said before. She says, if the vaccine is 95% effective, why the need for a mask afterwards? So kind of going back to what you talked about before, maybe if you could go more in depth with that. And she also said, if COVID has a 99.4% survival rate, why is the vaccine needed? She got the flu vaccine twice and became very ill both times. Should she get the vaccine? Can we just discuss maybe, is this 99.4% figure accurate? I don't think it is, but can you just elaborate on those questions, please?
The issue is that the flu vaccine is a totally different type of vaccine, and the COVID-19 vaccine works at the level of the cell, and what it does is basically make these proteins against the spike protein on the virus. And so that's how it works, and it replicates it through all the cells within the body. I mean, the way that COVID attaches is basically through the cells, basically in your nose and in your lungs, and it attaches through an ACE2 receptor, and it's trying to kind of when it attaches to the ACE2 receptor, it kind of hijacks the cell and takes over the mRNA process, and that's what we're trying to block. So the question is, you get reactions from the flu vaccine. You should probably then talk to your doctor about getting this vaccine, but again, the mechanism of action of this vaccine is very different than from your flu vaccine. The efficacy of this is very different than your flu vaccine. Flu vaccine is basically based on variances within the years of what we think the type of flu that's going to hit the next year, and that's how it's kind of made. So it's very different. And now, as far as 99%, this vaccine is 95% effective in stopping the actual virus. So it doesn't matter if it's 99 or 100%. 95 out of 100 people are not going to get, based on this data, COVID-19 because they're getting this vaccination. And what was the other question?
So the other part of that was just,
Should they still be wearing a mask?
why do we need masks?
Yeah.
Like the difference between efficacy.
Yes, exactly. So until a certain amount of people are going to get it, and until we reach a certain amount of people getting the vaccinations and stopping the infection, we still need to do our part, because there are asymptomatic carriers as well as symptomatic carriers, and so if one person gets a vaccine, are 350 million people still at risk? Yeah. But if 300 million people get the vaccine, then the 50 million that are left over may not be as much as risk, right? So So it's proportionality.
And you have to also look at it this way too. I mean, if you, let's say you went to go get the vaccine, okay, and so you got the vaccine, you're going outside, and you didn't wear the mask, and then somebody says, "How come you're not wearing a mask? You can't come in the building." You say, "Well, I took the vaccine." I said, "How do I know that?" Like, oh, because there's not a marker on you. And you just have to think about it. Not every, some people will just try to get away with something, So if, I think even if you take well, of course, it goes without saying, if you take the vaccine, you should still wear the mask. Not just until this whole thing dies down. Now, just out of curiosity, before the other questions, just out of curiosity, with the vaccine out, because I hear a lot of people not wanting to take the vaccine. Some people even think that the COVID-19 is a fake, which I can't believe that was even a subject matter. But anyways, or a question. Even when you take the vaccine itself, you still want to be preventive. You still want to wash your hands and stuff like that. Of course, that goes without saying, but you also want to look at it as, you want to look at it like this. All right, so even when the vaccine's out by the end of the week, you said?
Well, no, the vaccine's already out. The second company will be out by the end of the week.
Even with the vaccine out, when do you think, obviously this is, mind you, this is theoretical because we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. But let's say, the vaccine's out. How long do you think it will take to come back to a whole back to a normal again? When would you think, I don't even see this being a year. I mean, literally back to a normal. I don't think there's going to be a such thing as that. But what would you say to someone?
Well, I would say
where no one has to wear masks anymore.
Yeah, I mean, God willing, maybe within a year or so. By this time next year, hopefully we can enjoy the holidays, without a mask. But again, a lot of things have to be put in place before that happens. So I mean, that's more of a guess, but it could be longer, it could be shorter. But if the mask is the biggest thing in your life, I think that you should go ahead and wear it because it's going to save your life. It's going to save the lives of your loved ones. I mean, we've seen a spike after Thanksgiving because people didn't take heed and went to, and I get it. I mean, you want to see your loved ones. Grandparents want to see their grandkids, but there's a time to do that and there's times not to do that. So we definitely saw a spike after Thanksgiving with COVID patients. So I get it. People want to see each other. People want to go about their life, but just be patient. It's coming. Those times are coming. So this is a great news. This is really great news that we have a vaccine, that came out this quickly, and the science behind it is very good, and that we're able to get it. So I think we should look at the glass half full rather than the half empty.
So I have a question from Muriel. She says, given her lung issues, should she try to take the vaccine sooner?
So you should take the vaccine as soon as it's available. Again, like I said, the only contraindication or relative contraindication is if you have severe allergic reactions to other vaccines or medicines. And that, again, you should talk to your doctor. And again, you should talk to your doctor about any of this. So you should take it as soon as it becomes available. That's my opinion.
Okay. Oh, by the way, Carol, who had the questions at the beginning, says, thank you for answering my questions. I understand better now. Maybe let's do this one more because I know that, Alex, you have to go to boot camp in like 3 minutes, but yes. Maybe one or two more. If a person has COVID-19 now, i.e. if they're in the hospital, will this vaccine help them?
So again, I kind of went over that. If they have COVID-19 now, they are producing antibodies naturally, and they are not recommended to get this vaccine. Whether that's after 90 days or not, we're not exactly sure, but at this point, they are not the patients that should be getting this vaccine.
Okay, and maybe one last one from Dan Leonard, and it's okay if you don't have an answer to this, but what is the rough timetable for the vaccines being rolled out to the general public? And also maybe talk about how people with COPD are probably going to be in that group 1C, as you mentioned before.
So those people with COPD are definitely going to be in that group 1C. The timeline is hard to say. It really is. Again, the primary concern is the healthcare workers who are really in this, embedded in this. For example, I work at the local hospital in the critical care unit, so I would be one of those people that probably get it in the beginning. We're already being asked to, fill out some paperwork. As soon as we get it, we would be one of the first people to get it. The nursing home patients, because things have, the first batch, a lot of them were the nursing home patients. So they would be frontline, considered frontline people as well. So as far as rolling it out, I don't know. That's a logistical issue, but it will get better as more companies, as more vaccines are available.
Perfect. Okay. Well, if there's no other questions, or I know I'm running out of time, so I have to go into boot camp in just a second. But now, mind you, just to recap, you should always consult with your physician about any questions. Dr. Shah is just going over information that's available, but still, you should consult with your doctor just in case if you have any specific questions to your health, as Dr. Shah is not everybody's doctor. So your personal doctor should be the first person to call if you have any additional questions or questions in general that should be related to your healthcare practitioner. That's it.
Thank
See you
you.
guys.